Welcome to the Daily Review. This is Fed Razak, Senior Trading Strategist here at CMTrading. And today is September 6th, 2024, and today is Friday morning. So looking at the highlights of the day, Tesla breaking out to the upside. But first, looking at today's major economic events. So today at 2:30 South African time, out of Canada, we have an unemployment rate change number coming out. And more importantly, we have a non-farm payroll, NFP, coming out from the United States. Now, looking at the markets, starting out with the Forex symbols, the euro does advance and bounce while we're watching the Japanese yen continue to strengthen. Now, looking at the indices, the Dow Jones and the NASDAQ are looking very weak going into this number. That might just be a setup. And looking at commodities, oil sitting on support and testing it. And as we look at natural gas actually breaking out to the upside. Now, looking at the stocks, they were mixed across the board. And lastly, looking at cryptocurrencies, Bitcoin sitting on support. So let's take a look at the markets and see what we can expect from today's trading. So this is where it gets kind of interesting. The Euro USD is bouncing before anything else, which is kind of interesting. The GBP really sleeping on the job here. And we're about 50% away from our high. So this should be the end of this jump or this bounce. I'm looking at the GBP USD. It didn't really do it, right? It bounced, but not as significantly as the Euro, which is important because historically speaking, the GBP is stronger versus the dollar than the euro is versus the dollar. So it might be a changing of the tide once again. Now, looking at the Japanese yen, it's getting much stronger versus the dollar, closing in at this 139-ish level. We're at 142. I'm just trickling down here and could be kind of interesting how much further it could go. Now, jumping into the Canadian dollar as well. Now, the Canadian dollar retraced to its mini supportish level. I would say it's 50% of its supportish level. It's been kind of bowing. It's been beautifully trading between 138 and 131, but we're smack in the middle of that. So really, there's no jumping into this, even though there's going to have a rate statement, an unemployment number coming out from Canada. Now, today, this NFP will be super important because it leads up to the next FOMC rate statement. And I'm sure they know the number already. Just we have to, the public, the general public, then can then react to the number. Now, jumping into commodities, crude oil trading at $69 a barrel, testing this supportish level. And like I said, I would have expected it to actually trade higher this time of the year, and it's not. It's breaking down. And look at that. Ever since it broke that 200-day moving average at $77 a barrel, for it to retrace another $8 is significant. Okay, and that could have been an easy trade. Now, looking at natural gas, it's testing its 200-day moving average on a daily chart, but it's got to sustain above it, right? We were testing this area for quite some time, and it looks like it's consolidated and it's at its upper range. Question is whether or not it's kind of exhausted its move at this rate, or is it going to break out higher and move in even higher? Now, looking at the U.S. markets, they're looking very weak. I mean, look at the Dow Jones. It's at 40,800, just like looking like it's going to break down. But who knows, okay? Until the number actually comes out, we don't really know. Also, the NASDAQ looks like it's really weak here. And the point to have caught it was at this real bounce, okay? This was probably a dead cat bounce, and I do believe we'll see it sell off. But that's my personal take on it, okay? But you got to wait for the news. You have to see for how it settles out. Now, looking at Tesla, it's the only one that really bounced yesterday to 229, and it looks like it's breaking out from its 221-ish level. So the next real resistance is 232. Not a big deal, but if it clears that, then we could see it going back to 254. Believe it or not, even if the markets are going down, I don't like to buy something when the markets are going down. I'd rather, kind of trade the markets with the market. If the markets are going all down and you have one stock that's going up, that's very nice that the stock is going out, but your greater probability play is on the downside. So looking at that, JP Morgan did get a little bit weaker. And if we look at some of the tech stocks, they're bouncing around. They're not really trading. Apple was down for the week altogether. Microsoft has been down for the week altogether. And they're really not showing so much strength here. And Intel on the bottom of its range, okay? So it's really important for us to see how this will actually break out. NVIDIA continues to break down lower this past week, okay, altogether. So there's not a lot of positive kind of thing in the market right now. So if there's a little bit of negativity in terms of payrolls, in terms of unemployment, that's going to affect the markets as well. Now, lastly, let's take a look at Bitcoin, also retracing here to 56,000. Now, before we go, I just want to highlight this. This is the VIX. The VIX is a volume indicator. It shows us how much volume is in the market. When the markets are selling off tremendously, and there's tremendous selling pressure, the VIX points upwards. Now, we did have this a couple of weeks ago when the markets really tanked, right? We went up to 34 and then we retraced. Now, if you look historically, you could see kind of like, you know, a little bit of basis to it. Now, we are pumping up again and we're looking like we're breaking out. Now, we do have 16 as a potential resistance level, so that could be something if it doesn't break out higher than that. But you want to keep an eye on the VIX as well, because it'll be an indicator whether or not we're going to have some selling pressure later today. So trade responsibly. NFP is usually a very volatile time. Stop losses, take profits, put them all there. This is Fed Razak. I want to wish you guys a great weekend and a great trading day. Thank you.